Welcome everyone to day 6. As mentioned today in our meeting, today's objective is we're going to be going over combining like terms, and I'm going to go ahead and take you through three different examples that you will be seeing today in your Khan Academy assignments. Before we begin, make sure that you write on your notes in your notebook day 6, combining like terms, the date April 6, 2020, and today, before we begin, we're going to discuss the vocabulary of the day, and I'm just going to give you a few seconds to get that done, or go ahead and pause the video now so that you may have some time to write your notes. Today's vocabulary is also posted on the day 6 channel, and it looks like this. So today we're going to be discussing the word term, and terms are numbers and variables separated by plus and minus signs. We're also going to discuss coefficients. You should be writing this down in your notes. Pause it if you need to. A coefficient is a number used to multiply by a variable. It is always in the front of the variable, and sometimes you'll have a variable with no number in the front, and that simply has a coefficient of 1. So for example, you'll have x by itself. Well, the coefficient of that is 1. It's just not there. It's not visible. Then we have a variable, of course, and it's a letter in place of a number. We also will be discussing constants, and a constant is a number on its own. It doesn't have a variable next to it. So for example, you'll have 5 as a constant, 3 is a constant, 2, so no variable attached to it. All right, so let's take a look at example 1. And combining like terms, basically what that means is, well, the word combine means to put together. Like terms is to combine things that are similar. So for example, in your do now, you had the popcorn and the movie boards, and you can't combine the popcorn and the movie board because they're not the same thing, right? So the same concept applies to algebra. You cannot combine different variables or constants because they're not the same thing. So let's take, for example, example 1, and this is pretty simple. First, I look at my variables. This is step 1. Look at your expression and identify common variables. And I'm going to go ahead and use different shapes to combine them. So I have 6x here. I'm going to draw a triangle around every term that has the variable x. 6x, 2x is another one, x again as well, and 3y. I'm not going to draw a triangle around that because it's not an x, it's a y. So they're not the same thing, and I'll draw a circle around the 3y. So step 1, put a shape around the terms with the same variable. Now, look at the keyword I just used. The word is terms. How many terms does this expression have? It has 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to put here that it has 4 terms. Now I'm going to go ahead and start combining them. Because here I'm combining 6x plus 2x plus x. The second step is now you're going to either add or subtract your like terms. So I'm going to do that on the side actually. And I have 6x plus 2x plus x. Remember what we said, the coefficient of a variable by itself is simply 1. So I'm going to go ahead and put an invisible 1 in the front, and I just simply add. These is just x. 6 plus 2 plus 1 is 9. Therefore, all of these together is just 9x plus, and then you can bring that guy down because it has nobody to combine with. And this is your simplified expression. Step 3 is rewrite your simplified expression. So I did step 1, draw a triangle, a circle, a square, depending on how many terms you have or how many variables you have around your like terms. Step 2 is to actually combine them. And then step 3 is let's rewrite our simplified expression. I'm going to go ahead and put these in our channel as well so you can reference it back. Let's look at example 2. Example 2 is a little different, but the only difference is that this time we are subtracting. So in example 1, you were only adding, but example 2 is now also including subtraction. So let's take a look at this. Step 1, put a triangle, circle, square, whatever you want to do around the common variables. So I'm going to start off with a triangle because that's what I had already. Got 11a. Let me look at my expression and see if anything else has an a on it. This is a c, so I'm not going to do that. 3a, triangle right there. and then 5c, if you notice, is kind of by itself, and then there's a subtraction sign in front of it. One important rule when you're combining like terms, I don't want the subtraction sign to stay by itself. I don't want it to be left behind. So I'm going to include it with the 5c just like that, and then I'll worry about it later. That was step 1. We did our shapes to combine our like terms. Step 2, let me go ahead and combine them. Well, first of all, how many terms does this have? It has 1, 2, 3, because they're separated by subtraction or addition signs. So let me go ahead and combine them now. In step 2, I can only in this case combine 11a plus 3a. And if you notice, the coefficients of the variable a are both 11 and 3 because they're in front of the variable. I'm going to combine those two. 11 plus 3 is just 14a. Step 3, rewrite your simplified expression. So now I have 14a, and don't forget to bring that minus 5c down. That is why I circled the whole thing, so that I wouldn't forget a subtraction sign. So now this is 14a minus 5c. And this is my final answer. I don't do anything to those two numbers. I cannot combine them. I cannot solve them. I don't know what a equals. I don't know what c equals. So sometimes some students confuse themselves because they're like, well, now what? That's it. That you're done. All you're doing is simply taking an expression and trying to simplify it as much as you can. So that is your final answer. Let's look at example 3. And example 3 is a little more different than example 1 and example 2 because this time, if you notice, we're including negative coefficients. So now we have -4, and then we also have a constant in there. And if you recall, a constant is a number without a variable. So step 1, I'm going to combine my like terms using my geometrical shapes, my triangles, squares, circles, whatever you want to use. And the first one I see is -4p, so let me draw a triangle around that. And I'm going to put a triangle around every single one that has a p in it. So it's -4p. I have 2p. You can even include the plus sign in front of it. So I have nothing else with a p in it, so I don't combine anything else. Next, let me use a circle now. I have -2, and yes, that is a term that you can combine. That is a constant, remember, no variable attached to it. And I also have a 3. That is also a constant, so I can combine those two. Now that I have that, step 2 is to combine my like terms. So I'm going to go ahead and take it over here. First, I'm going to worry about the p's. Take it one step at a time. I have -4p plus 2p. And this is why you need to know your integer rules that we did on day 4 and day 5, adding and subtracting integers, because you need to know what is -4 plus 2. You can use your number line, or you can use your chip model, or a lot of you have gotten very familiar with the rules. I'm going to just show you real quick with the chip model. I have 4 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have 2 positives. And if you notice, I can create 2 zero pairs. 1 negative and 1 positive makes a zero pair, and I'm left with -2. Therefore, I have -2p. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it over here for step 3, but I'm not done because I still need to combine the constants. I can't just bring them down in this case. And now I have -2 plus 3. Well, let's go ahead and draw our chips again. 1, 2 negatives, 1, 2, 3 positives. Let me cancel my zero pairs. I have 1, 2, and I'm left with 1 positive. So therefore, now I have -2 plus 1. And again, I can't combine this. I can't do anything else to it. I don't know what p is, and I can't do -2 plus 1 because 1 does not have a p attached to it. If it had a p to it, then I could combine it, but they're not the same thing. So therefore, this is my final solution, my final simplified expression. And that is how you combine like terms. The main thing that you need to remember when you're doing this objective is to be very careful when you are doing step 2, when you're doing your calculations. When you are adding negatives and positives, if you're having a hard time, make sure you go back to your notes and think about, okay, what's a negative plus a positive? Or what's a positive plus a negative? And a negative plus a negative. Another thing is make sure that you are bringing down the subtraction signs with you, like in example 2. make sure that you attach that to your variable with your coefficient, because if you forget that subtraction sign, then you're going to have a hard time combining it. I'm going to attach the steps for you on the day 6 channel so you can go back and reference. And don't forget to do your Khan Academy assignment. That is all you have for today. You do not have to do another assignment where you modify it and where you edit it. The only thing for today is Khan Academy. And that is already assigned to you, and it is due today by 11:59 p.m. So please make sure you go complete that. All right, guys, send me a picture of your notes as soon as you're done, and I will see y'all tomorrow.